Good night, gals and ghouls. With your consent, if you don't mind, let's get a little bit intimate, yeah? What is your favorite genre of music? Do you have a favorite? If you're someone like me, when you put your playlist on shuffle, it probably goes from like corridos, cumbias, to hip hop, to oldies, to even some classical music. That's right, you heard me correctly, classical music. I like to throw on a little classical music now and then and pretend I have my ish together. You know, like Chip Chip Cheerios. I am cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But then I get back to the dysfunctional person that I actually am. Anywho, one of my favorite classical music pieces is called Il Trillo del Diavolo. Composed by who, you ask? By the devil himself. And I do want to apologize again right now from the start. I may mispronounce some words. I do the best I can, okay? This piece is also known as the Devils Trill or the Devils Trill Sonata, okay? The man who composed this piece is named Giuseppe Tartini, okay? Or was he the composer? Because again, it's believed that the devil is the true composer of this piece. Let's talk about Tartini a little bit, okay? Giuseppe Tartini. Tartini was born on April 8th, 1962. His father wanted him to actually become a friar. And I looked this up and it's pretty much like a monk or a priest kind of, okay? But Tartini, kind of preferred other things. And Tartini always had a great love for music. Now, Tartini did not end up becoming a friar or priest, okay? In fact, he actually ended up secretly marrying a woman by the name of Elisabetta Primazore, okay? Now, Elisabetta was the niece of a Catholic minister cardinal, okay? Now, because of this, first of all, this marriage was frowned upon in general, okay? Aside from the fact that she was a lot younger than Giuseppe Tartini. This is also a marriage his father would not have approved of. So again, just kind of a frowned upon marriage altogether. And aside from all this, she is the niece of the Catholic minister / cardinal. Okay. So he hears about this. He's livid and he accuses Tartini of abduction. Due to this reason, Tartini flees. Okay. And when he does flee, he eventually goes to see a musician by the name of Francesco Verini, I believe. Okay, again, apologies if I am mispronouncing or butchering names. But he goes to see him perform live. And he was somewhat of an idol to Tartini, or if not an idol, he was at least a musician that he really looked up to, or admired. Okay, when he is there and he is witnessing this show live, this musical artist live, Tartini realizes, my goodness, if I want to be even a quarter of as good as he is, I am going to really have to devote myself to my music and really hone my skills and practice, because he just thought he was so amazing, so incredible. So he says, I'm not even close to that. But because he is or had always been a lover of music, remember, this inspires him sort of, and says, I'm going to really dedicate myself so that I can achieve such greatness, right? Such as Francesco. So in order for him to improve or practice, Tartini isolates himself for months, to just really work on honing his skills at playing the violin. I don't believe I mentioned this earlier. My apologies. His instrument of choice was the violin. Okay. Now, when he does eventually come out of isolation, the change is evident. Okay, he is a much more skilled musician, and he went on to become one of the best musicians of his time. And he even opened up a violin school in 1728. Okay, now one of his most well-known pieces is You guessed it, Il Trillo del Diavolo, or the Devil's Trill, or the Devil's Trill Sonata, okay? This symphony is very beautiful, and I encourage you to go listen to it. I'll probably link the link to that song in the description below. So the story behind the composition of this piece is very interesting, and this is where we get into the whole "the devil composed it" story, okay? One night in 1713, Tartini has a dream that he made a pact with the devil himself, okay? Now, in exchange for his soul, the devil promised him endless creativity musically or music-wise, okay? Now, Tartini agrees, but he wants to make sure that the devil is a skilled musician first. So he's kind of like, yeah, I'll sell my soul, but prove to me that you know what you're doing, you know? So Tartini hands the devil his violin, and the devil, kind of seeing this as a challenge, takes the violin, and to Tartini's surprise, the devil proceeds to play one of the most beautiful musical pieces he has ever heard. It was so beautiful, so amazing, so mesmerizing that it causes Tartini to lose his breath. You know how the saying when they say, "It took my breath away." Well, this was not only metaphorically, but literally, because Tartini literally starts struggling to breathe, and that's what causes him to wake up from this dream. So he probably wakes up, you know, like, wow, that was incredible, amazing. What? So he wakes up and immediately heads to grab his violin, which he would keep by his bedside in case he ever got inspiration during the night or anything, you know, he would have it close by. So he wakes up from this dream, right? And he immediately goes to grab his violin and tries to recreate the piece recreate the piece that he just heard the devil play for him in his dream. Now, this piece was so beautiful, so difficult that Tartini, says he didn't even come close to replicating the original piece that the devil supposedly played for him in his dream. He claimed that if he could have somehow played that piece exactly or identically to the way the devil played it, he would have literally broken his instrument, because that's just how amazing it was. Now, here I was, right? People judge me and say I listen to the devil's music because I listen to some heavy metal. And the devil's over here composing one of the most beautiful classical pieces of all time, right? And by the way, isn't the devil, or wasn't he like an angel of music, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, right? Like the devil is known to have a lot of influence in music, right? But I mean, that's another topic for another time we can get or dive into more. But am I correct? Like the devil is known to be, supposedly he was like the angel of music or something. I may be mistaken. I may be mistaken. If you know, type it in the comments. Let me know. Is that true? Am I somewhat on the right track or no? Even to this day, this is said to be a very difficult piece or challenging piece to play. Now, not impossible. Obviously, I've even seen some covers on YouTube, here on YouTube. But it's, I mean, not the entire piece, but there is a certain section of this musical symphony that is very challenging to play. Now, I am not a violinist, so I wouldn't know if there are any violinists out there. I doubt they would be watching my channel. But, you know, if you are a violinist or you know someone who's a violinist, maybe ask them. They might be, you know, more knowledgeable in that. But it is said that it is a challenging piece to play, especially in a particular section. So once it gets to this part where it kind of picks up, and it's that part where people say it's challenging to play because it's very it's played very rapidly. Now, this symphony contains what is called a tritone, from what I researched, what I read. Okay, again, I'm not the most musically inclined or knowledgeable person, but this is what I read. It incorporates or has something called a tritone, which even at one point was called or nicknamed the devil's intervals, because it is that difficult to play. And if you listen to that section, it's as if there's two violins playing simultaneously, very quickly, but yet very beautifully, or delivered very beautifully, okay? Some people, once Tartini released this piece, because it was so good, and I guess back then when it was released, it was kind of so played so quickly and so amazingly that there was even a rumor that started and said that he had 6 fingers, because there was just no way he could be playing that amazingly. Okay. The other interesting thing is that something that people have said or have thought is that this piece is inspired by the Devil's story, where, you know, he was once an angel of God, or he was in heaven with God, and then basically due to what he did, obviously God kicked him out. And so this piece kind of describes that pain, that sadness of Satan or Lucifer kind of realizing that he could never go back, that it's the devil's story and his falling out with God, basically, and how he's banned now and never able to go back. And if you listen to it, it does have those moments of very like sadness. You listen to it, you come to your own conclusion. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Could this really have been that the actual devil visited him in his dream and made a pact with him in exchange for his soul? I mean, dreams are wild in general, in my opinion. Who knows? But next thing you know, here is one of the most beautiful pieces ever to be composed. All right, so I know this one was a little bit more shorter of a video than I normally do. No worries, I got you. I'm gonna be back next week with a longer video, but it's just there wasn't a lot into this story I could find aside from what I kind of basically covered already, but I still found it to be a very interesting story. I thought, oh, a symphony composed by the devil, you say? I'm intrigued, so here I am. But anywho, I'm going to wrap it up at that. Thank you so much for joining. I truly appreciate you guys engaging in any way, shape, or form. Thank you so much. I hope to see you next time. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If there is a topic or something you want me to talk about, any feedback, suggestions, even constructive criticism, I am very open-minded. I am very open. I don't know why I did that. Okay, thank you so much. Have a very good night, gals and ghouls. Hopefully you don't dream with the devil tonight. And if you do, don't go making a pact with him, okay? Or if you do, read the fine print, please, because that's where they always get you, that fine print. All right, thank you so much. Have a good night. Goodbye.